because I logged in. It's interesting. So I don't think we even need this computer.
I haven't been in this room for 3 years now. So don't look at me for answers.
I know. No, so we don't even use this computer. This computer is only here in case we need a computer. This is
look, I'm on TV.
So
you probably want to sit here.
So I can't.
Look at that. It moves around.
Okay, so here's the dilemma. I can't join as a
host. I don't think there are any hosts, right? Didn't some?
Yeah, but maybe we don't have to now.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, and so like
they give me this option here, but in order to do that, I would need a sign. Okay, so once the meeting has been, this is what they showed in the video.
Oh, there was a video?
Oh, yeah. Log into the meeting, use the, okay, I did that. Once the meeting has been accessed, all the instructions found in the video. Okay, how do you do? All right. If a member in the public would like to turn on the microphone at the presenter stage during, okay. So I think so all of these mics should be on. 1, 2. Hello. Okay. So if somebody wants to speak.
Wouldn't that be funny if we got more public participation today?
What?
Wouldn't it be funny if we got more public participation here than we do at in the Zoom? Huh? I don't know. How can you tell? There's no information on that on the microphone. Maybe somebody who let's see.
Not as cold as I was afraid of.
Well, my hands are cold. Uh-oh.
Be socially. I thought I was going to be overly concerned if I wore a mask, but I will wear a mask.
Oh, I should have brought a battery. Are there any spare batteries around here? Yeah. But maybe this is working.
Okay. So, okay. Are we going to be spread out? I think that's probably best. Huh?
Oh, I hadn't even thought about it.
I wonder if it's spread out.
Come on. Geez, I haven't used this mouse in a really long time.
That is my sample. I want it back though, because this is what I'm going to do like that. So this is Timber Trek.
Timber Tech.
Timber Trek.
Tech.
Vintage collection. It is class A.
Yeah,
and it's
nice.
light. And that's
look at this. This is the Trex Transcend that I use.
Yeah. See, we looked at this, but look at how heavy that is.
Oh yeah, I know.
This is light.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah. Because like I'm in the ranch, so
interesting. Yours even has a grain.
I know. I liked it. And because unless you want to start drilling new foundation stuff, which can get very expensive. Okay, come on.
Isn't this working?
I have a feeling I'm supposed to log in as a. I have Jeremy's cell phone. Maybe I should call him and ask him.
Just to let you know, you're on Zoom, and
Where's that coming from?
left field, but you're on Zoom and we can see you, or I can see you. I'm the only person here, but so that's a good sign.
How do we set this up so we can see people are even here?
So I'm going to be.
Who's talking, by the way?
Oh, where you can't see it's Dave Cardinal.
Hey,
Dave?
Hi there. So I just wanted to point out, I think you're doing something right, because I can see and hear you and the cameras are working. So that's good.
Good. Yeah, we Jennifer's just following the instructions. Gee, thanks for logging in, Dave, because there's nobody here to help us.
Well, I don't know if you were here last night or there last night, but the town council had quite a arm wrestle with the system. So you're doing much better than they started out. So
because well, it's new that everyone's going into the schoolhouse. The thing is, the instructions, they have a great video. You know, you turn on the Zoom equipment, it's great. But the computer is requesting an email and a password to be host. And that's not in the instruction manual that they gave me.
Oh.
And you know, you can't really go through everything. I came in a few days early, but you know, there's no Zoom meeting to practice on, so. Well,
this is the fourth year, I don't know how long it's been, that we've been teaching hybrid at Stanford, and every week there's a new adventure. So
yeah, okay. Okay, so okay. Do you have any idea how to get these Hi. Hi. Hey, Nona, we are recording. We are currently recording. Nona, do you know if there's a secret password for the Zoom account? Because here, do you want one? Or you cannot. I wasn't going to wear one, but MJ is, and I think it's a great idea. Yeah, Nona, here you go if you're more comfortable.
If you're on the committee, you're supposed to sit at the table. But
we don't have to.
We can spread out, you know.
Yeah. No, I can't take Jim's home to my husband.
Yeah.
Why don't Nona?
You want to sit on the end?
I feel fine. I'm very.
Yeah, you know what? That's a great idea, MJ.
You want a mask? I'm fine. I'll wear a mask. No, you don't even have to worry about.
So I don't think either of these two microphones over there work, and I don't know how to turn them on.
If anyone wants to come out in today's weather.
Oh, I hated driving here every time I know this path. So
yeah.
Well,
yeah, I think Jennifer just wants to be able to log in as host, but I don't think we have that capability.
I'm trying to get this done.
I thought we're no longer able to log in as host on Zoom. Isn't that the way it's right? Hey, Dee. Here, I'll move over one more, and then so that Wanda can have some distance.
Yeah. Wanda kind of, you know what? Why don't we just all move away from Wanda then, and you can sit next to me. I'm fine.
Okay, what was the other half of what you said, Jennifer?
Oh, actually,
Someone should
Jennifer,
sort of be in the
I
middle.
have a mask. Open Zoom meeting. I opened it. Oh, you're fine.
Hey, Dia, I've got a mask here that she hasn't touched if you want it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
I
gonna
have a
try
whole packet of them in my
launching
car.
from this computer, because they did say, go to the town calendar and launch it. This meeting, okay, got it. Okay, the boom, we're in. Huh? Boom, we're in.
Oh, look at you. Good for you.
Okay, so this computer Oh, you're in is on that
Yes,
computer.
I'm in on the town computer. Oh, I'm sorry. There's so much equipment here. I could open a new Google. This looks, yes, I'm host. Boom. Oh, good. Okay. Melissa did a fantastic job on the instructions. Really, the instructions are very, very, very thorough. Good afternoon or evening, ladies. Thank
Good
you for
afternoon.
coming on such a crummy day. Thank you for wearing masks. We will be a model.
Where's the camera? It's like over there on the wall.
Oh, yeah,
That white thing?
Those are the cameras?
Yep.
Those three
And, like,
white things?
We move or talk, then it focuses on it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I haven't been in here. For
So
at
Dave,
least 3
can
years.
you hear us?
Marshall.
His picture went away.
Marshall heard it.
Are these microphones live?
Yes, they are. We are
Okay.
recording.
Oh, sorry, I wandered away, but yeah, it's all perfect. I think it's great.
Great. And I figured out how to log in. Okay. 1 minute. Hey.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi,
Good
Marshall.
evening.
Deputy Marshall Marshall.
How's everyone?
So how do you want to be addressed? Do you want to be addressed by your first name of Marshall or your title of Deputy Fire Marshal?
I like everyone to get like a little confused and try to figure it out. No,
I was already confused. I could say Marshall.
Yeah, we're already there.
Marshall's fine. The way to address me, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
It's
It's too warm.
I'm surprised how warm it is. I got here a half an hour early and turned on the heat.
Thank you for that.
Oh, it's warmed up
So
that fast?
it did, and it really wasn't that cold. Okay, it is 7 o'clock. Now, I don't see Jeremy yet, but that's okay.
Oh, wait a second. I gotta be.
Okay, we ready? Okay, so I'm gonna.
Oh, wait. So how do we get on the Wi-Fi?
Oh,
It's asking for.
Huh.
Lane.
Huh?
Oh, it's
19.
It's Bill Lane, 1919.
there he is.
Hey.
Hi, guys.
I knew it was something like that.
Wait, what was the first word?
Bill Lane, 1919.
So Bill Lane, one
Oh,
word.
oh.
Yeah.
Bill.
Which
Is
community?
capitals or
Community hall or
lowercase?
council chambers?
The L in Lane might be capitalized, but I want to say it's not, but it's one of the two variants.
You said 1919?
Yeah,
Oh.
that is the date of Mr. Lane's birth.
Use
Hey, Marshall, how are you?
Hey, Jeremy, how are you tonight?
Doing all right, man. It's good to see you.
Good. Yeah, you too.
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to
Wait.
order. Well, we're going to move on.
Well, it's hard for me to
So
take notes
we have a
if I don't-
lot of things to do. So I'm gonna start oral
It's hard
communication.
for me to take notes if I don't have Wi-Fi.
Oh,
So it's.
Oh,
Okay,
forget
someone-
it.
Bill Lane,
It's all
Bill.
lowercase.
He said the Lane may be capitalized. 1919. If that doesn't work, try the B capitalized.
And occasionally it takes a second to kick in. So that might be what's going on too. If you're not connecting immediately or it's not working immediately.
Jennifer, do we have more people coming? Or can I move over one?
You can move over. Beyond? Yeah.
No, it's just flashing.
Do you want to use my hotspot?
No.
I'm just using my phone for the Wi-Fi.
But she's the secretary. She's taking notes.
Oh.
Can you just use Word and not be online?
Oh, wait, I think it worked. Okay.
We
I'm
good?
ready. Yeah,
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm going to call the meeting to order. Oral communications for items not on the agenda. And I want to start out by saying that I think we've all heard that our town manager, Jeremy Dennis, is leaving. And I just want to say that when I took over as chair, I had only been on this committee for like 2 months, and I'd never been on a town committee before. And Jeremy spent so much time mentoring me, and he has been such a friend to this committee. And Jeremy, we are going to miss you so much. I cannot thank you for everything you have done the last year. And I am deeply saddened, but I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you very much. For those who know me really well, I am simply not good at these kinds of things. But I want to just say and share my appreciation for the incredible work that this committee has done in the last year in particular as it was reconstituted. And I think that there are going to be many more opportunities for the committee to contribute to the safety and the well-being of Portola Valley. When I talk to folks, amongst the most popular things that we have the pleasure of simply transmitting to the community are the Tuesday tips from the committee that MJ works on. People love them. I think it's been one of the most effective tools to connect folks with the opportunities around wildfire awareness and mitigation. So I just want to commend you for your work. Certainly these decisions are not taken lightly. I'll let y'all know my next steps when I'm ready to share all that. Rest assured, I think I'm heading in a good direction. It's not that easy to get rid of me. So I will certainly see folks and perhaps my new capacity. More importantly, I'd love to hear from everyone from time to time. So if anyone has interest in keeping in touch, just send me an email and I'll get you my information. But it's been a real distinct pleasure. And Jennifer, I have absolutely adored our conversations about how to support the committee. You are a hell of a chair, and I'm grateful for the time that I got to spend with you over the last period of time in, not going to say anything that's out of turn, but, in a very challenging role in this town at this time. So congratulations to you and to the rest of the committee. And yeah, there you go. Thanks.
Oh, best of luck to you, Jeremy.
Thanks, Marshall. I appreciate it, buddy.
So is there any open communications from anyone on the committee?
Well, as far as Jeremy, you guys
Anything.
can hear us okay? Yeah? Yeah, I'm really gonna miss you around here, Jeremy. So, yeah, if you really do come back and visit us once in a while or rule over us, that'd be great.
Well, maybe I'll saddle up to the Alpine Inn after work from time to time, and I'll buy people beers. But I'd love to do that. Thanks, MJ.
I'll just chime in with a third perspective on all the committees that I've served on. Jeremy, I really appreciate how responsive you've been, your open door policy, just always getting back to us when we had a question, and support and understanding that, you know, even when we didn't see things exactly eye to eye, we had heartfelt conversations that were really mutually respectful. And I'm really grateful for that. So
thank you, Nona.
Miss you.
Well, I hope to be around more, that you don't have to miss me as much, but I appreciate that. And I think, Nona, you know, you've been doing this a little while, and you are, in my book, on the very, very short list of folks who the town owes a great deal of gratitude towards on being an effective volunteer. And you know, personally speaking, yeah, I always appreciated when we had different opinions on issues, and you always brought me a perspective that was I'm having trouble with my words tonight, which is unusual for me, as you all know. You brought a perspective to me that is always valued, and I'm glad that you know, in the very few times where we had a difference of opinion, it was always agreeable as people, and so thank you for that. Let's do some work. Let's do some work.
Is there anyone from the attendees? Oh, go ahead, Nona. Oh, no. I had a couple other things for open or oral communication. First of all, you know, I want to thank the town. You know, we had the volunteer party a couple of Fridays ago, and you know, it was really good. Those of you who are new to the committee, like normally before the pandemic, the town would host a holiday party in December for all current and past volunteers, and you get, you know, hundreds of people in the community hall. And the only thing I wanted to ask is whether or not everybody got a postcard invitation. I can't remember if there was an email invitation, because I was the only, I don't think you didn't go.
I couldn't go, but
Yeah.
I got the invitation.
You did get
so,
the
yeah.
invitation.
Yeah, I didn't get the
Yeah,
invitation. I didn't either.
Did you get an invitation?
I got the postcard invitation, but I can't go to big gatherings.
Right. So I was going to give feedback to Carrie on people who didn't get the invite. Okay. And then my second question was, do we have a town council liaison yet? Or
Yes, Craig Taylor.
Oh, he's supposed to be our liaison.
Yeah. I will touch base with him after the meeting. Okay, does anyone in the attendees have any open oral communications? Okay. Approval of the minutes from January 2nd. And thank you, MJ, for once again creating these wonderful minutes. I know it's a thankless job.
I move we approve the minutes of January 2, 2023.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, let's show of hands for approval. Okay, let the record show we approved it unanimously. Okay. New business, really quick. I was incorrect last time. We do have to officially vote for officers, even though I've been chair for less than a year. So this is your chance to change your minds. Do we have any nominations for a chair?
Jennifer for chair.
I second the nomination.
Okay. A show of hands for, okay. Okay. Yeah, unanimous. Okay. Would someone like to nominate someone for secretary?
Nominate MJ.
Okay, do we have a second?
A second.
Show of hands for MJ for secretary. Okay, let it show a unanimous vote. Okay. All right.
You wanted to move for chair for Jennifer for chair, and then
He seconded?
He seconded, and then for me, which unfortunately one of you.
Nona was the villain there.
Yeah.
And I
moved and Wanda
Who
was
seconded it?
second?
You did.
Oh, you were both. You seconded. Okay, thanks.
Okay. So we're going to move on to fire code enforcement. And I will point out that from now on, we're going to keep the fire district at the top of the agenda so that they can always be able to come in and not have to stay for the whole meeting. So we have Deputy Fire Marshal Hurd with us. Thank you so much for being here. And he's going to talk about the new enforcement measures.
Good evening, board and everyone in attendance. And first off, I want to thank you for bumping us up in the meeting. That's really appreciated. So we can cover our topics and you guys can move forward with yours. So we're invited tonight to kind of go over, I guess, the new 2023 code enforcement, education, inspection type things that we do throughout the fire district. So currently we're working under our ordinance number 12. Ordinance number 13 has been out for some public comment. It's now being presented to our fire board at the end of the month, and then we'll go back out for public comment and hopefully approved and ratified by towns and the county, so we can incorporate the new ordinance and different requirements that we're adopting in the fire district. As far as inspections and code enforcements, just to let everyone know, we do two types of inspections. We have company commercial inspections, and we also have our wildland interface defensible space inspections. Currently, we have about 156 commercial inspections throughout the fire district, which is basically all our businesses, country clubs, gas stations, and different facilities that we inspect yearly. And we also inspect, which is mandated by the state, all our schools and our R1 and R2 occupancy. Our engine companies assist with those inspections. We like the engine companies to get involved and be in these commercial buildings and learn about the buildings, what's stored in them, and kind of see them ahead of time to kind of pre-plan if there's an event of a fire or an emergency. They kind of get firsthand information during these inspections. We also have our normal inspectors. We have 3 full-time inspectors that assist with the commercial inspections, and they are the ones that handle all the mandated inspections for the schools. Currently, for defensible space inspections, we roughly have about 6,000 parcels throughout the fire district. And we've created kind of a 3-year rotation on those where we try to accomplish about 2,000 a year. And we concentrate in the more hazardous high fire areas first, and then work our way through the district to the low severity zones and addressing fuel mitigation, defensible space, and working with the homeowners on home hardening, and so on and so forth through our defensible space inspection program. Currently, we have full-time inspectors on board right now with Woodside Fire Department. We hired a new inspector in January. And we have also one regular kind of part-time inspector who works part-time throughout the year. During the time when we started defensible space inspections, it was about the end of April, beginning of March. We also bring on an extra 2 to 4 part-time inspectors to assist with the inspections. Some of the new tools we brought on board recently is we've developed a new iPad inspection program for defensible space inspections. It's called Fireside. And this is allowing the fire district to be a lot more interactive with the homeowners. We're able to do an inspection of their house, show them pictures of hazards, and communicate through email versus having to wait to maybe meet again and kind of review the stuff we've determined that needs to be addressed. So it's a great tool right now. It's allowing us to capture a lot of data throughout the fire district that we've never been able to do before. And again, allowing us to work a little more fluid with the homeowners and getting information back and forth, and hopefully like resolving hazards and taking care of things as soon as possible.
Marshall, do you mind if I wanted to throw in a quick word. Don showed me this tool recently, and it is spectacular. Not only it's my sense that it sure as heck makes your job a lot easier, but for the person at the other end who's getting information, I think it's equally pretty impressive. So I was excited to see it. I'm excited to hear that you guys have it. And yeah, just wanted to add my 2 cents to great job on that. That's fantastic stuff.
Yeah, it's a great tool right now. It's called Fireside. That's the iPad-based defensible space program we're using for inspections. And we're hoping they actually develop something for the commercial side. Because one thing we're able to do, like I mentioned, is capture a lot of data that we haven't been able to, capture before, and kind of determine a lot of things throughout the district. Moving forward, currently, both towns and the fire department have come together and submitted a grant for funding on the CPWW. That's hopefully going to come out soon with some information. Right now, it's still in the process of the grant submittal. We're also seeking anyone that can help us maybe with some grant writing in the future, if anybody knows anybody. So we're looking forward to that. Hopefully getting information and confirming the grant. Zeke Lunder from Deer Creek Resources, who is the town's wildfire consultant, assisted with that information for the grant. So that's in process right now. Currently, we're working with Flame Mapper to work on some mapping in the fire district. Right now, they've collected quite a bit of data. We're waiting for a report from them, hopefully in the next few weeks, on what's been accomplished so far. We've also, in the new fire code, adopted, or hopefully will adopt, what we call an administrative citation. Our philosophy in the fire service, Woodside Fire Department, is to, go out, work with the public, educate them, and hopefully resolve hazards. But this administrative citation will give us an option that if people don't comply, we can start a penalty process and fine them fees to hopefully get them to comply with any issues with vegetation management or defensible space. So yeah, a lot of things are in the queue right now. Flame Mapper information, the ordinance. So a lot of stuff hopefully will be coming back soon. That's kind of what I got in a short little wrap up. If there's any questions or other things that like to be covered, please let me know.
Okay. So you want to start with MJ?
Marshall, so what's the time frame for this administrative citation process to become real?
It would be adopted with the new code ordinance. So if that's adopted and ratified by the towns, and that would be implemented. And there's an initial fee and fine, and then a time period where people have the opportunity to comply and take care of things, and then there's a second fee and also a time frame after that.
Yeah, but so first it has to be approved by the board and then by the two separate towns? Is that the process?
It'll be included in the new ordinance. Yeah, so that might have been already out in the new ordinance for public comment, and then right now it's going to the fire board, and then it'll be back out for further review.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to get an approximate time frame. So like July or August or something?
I would say probably a month or two. Yeah, I would say a month or two, hopefully before July.
Oh, really?
But we're hoping within the next month or two.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if everyone can agree on whatever's submitted, and we can get it adopted and ratified by the towns, and hopefully within a month or two.
Any more questions, MJ? Okay,
Nona?
Actually, I would say actually, let me rephrase that. I would say at least 2 to 3 months, because there's another 30-day review period. So that's a month in itself.
Okay, Nona.
Okay, so I just had a question. Is there one ordinance that's out for review right now, or are there multiple? Because I've been reading the 2203, and I understand that's a separate ordinance. Is that right?
That's a fire code ordinance. And then there's also our ordinance 13 that we adopt all the state information from, and all our local ordinance. Right.
So I was wondering, this is a little off topic then, but I was wondering if you could explain the timeline on the other fire ordinance, the 2203.
That one's being discussed right now between the towns. I believe recently Fire Marshal Board just wrote a letter, and they've sent a letter back. So that's in discussion to hopefully answer more questions and sort that out. I'm not sure of a timeline on that.
Okay, thank you.
My only other follow-up would be, I agree also that the app, the Fireside app that we did with CPAW, it really is a great tool. And wondering if you'd heard anything else from CPA or kind of what those results for that Highlands survey, when that would maybe be coming in. I knew it was going to be a few months.
Correct. Yeah, I have not heard any updates from them. I recently asked Fire Marshal Bordo about that. He said he's still waiting to get information from them. They're putting their reports together. So hopefully, again, within a short period of time, we'll have some information on that.
Great. Thank you.
So I have a couple of different questions. So I'm going to first ask my questions on enforcement. And then if any of you have more questions about enforcement, let's ask them. And then I have more questions on that ordinance 2203. So I haven't seen, if you said it was ordinance 13 is the new one that will cover the citations. Is that what it's ordinance 13?
Well, that's our next adopted ordinance, because it's currently ordinance 12 that we've adopted now. He may be calling it 2022-23 until it gets adopted as the actual 13th ordinance. I would have to double check on that.
Yeah, I didn't see anything in it about citations, but let me talk. It doesn't really matter. I can find this out. So what is exactly is the grant for you're applying for? I wasn't clear.
For the CPWW for the towns, both towns and the fire department submitted a grant for funding to accomplish that and to move forward with it. And they haven't heard back on the grant funding for that.
Is that the California Wildfire Defense Grant?
No, I don't think so.
Jeremy, do you know what the other grant is for? Is it something to do with enforcement?
The other grant? No, I don't. I don't know off the top of my head. I can look. Yeah, my apologies.
So, so this enforcement, this new enforcement strategy, we're going to have a 3-year cycle. How do you gain access to the property before you inspect? Do you send a notice out to people to say we're going to go in your backyard? You just knock the door and come back?
Yearly, we send out an inspection letter to the whole district that says we're going to start doing things. We can't access any private property without permission. So a homeowner would have to be present or have verbal communication with us to allow us to enter the property.
So, but every 3 years, every parcel in Portola Valley, you're going to somehow gain access to check the entire property.
Every 3 years, we try to accomplish that. Yeah, we have 6,000 parcels. Every year we try to do 2,000. So every 3 years, we hopefully are coming back and circling back to that property again.
Okay, so if they're not home and you simply you're not able to inspect the property?
No, you can't. We can't access private property without permission. So we could access the front of the property and see whatever we can from the street and visual from the front, but we can't go through the gates and things like that.
Okay. Okay, so all right. So a lot of towns actually send out notices before inspections so that people know that they need to be there to let you in, but so that's a problem.
Yeah, we send one out advising everyone that we're starting the process, and then as we go through, hopefully we can find out if they're there or not. Again, with the new Fireside app, we have the ability to if we can get information, we can send it to them ahead of time if they're not there. But most of the time right now, we're basically trying not to do an inspection unless the homeowners are present and physically walk around with us, because otherwise there's just constant back and forth. We have to make multiple site visits to go over things. If they walk around the first time with us, they see what we're seeing, they hear what we're hearing or we're saying, and they kind of understand it a lot better. So we're right now trying not to do an inspection unless the homeowner is present.
So some cities, they actually will drive around and just kind of check out properties, and the firefighters can get a real sense if there's a problem. So if you identify a property that you think there's a problem, you will make sure you get access, right?
Yeah, we follow up on those properties. I mean, if people call and bring up a situation with their neighbors, we follow up on those. But yeah, we continually follow up on properties to hopefully mitigate the situations.
Okay. So I know when Dawn presented for the to the EPC, there's like, I think you have 3 times to pay for the fine. And then they've identified a way to actually do abatement and get the county to for abatement. Is there going to be a fee or a fine with abatement? Because a lot of cities, they add like 15% fine or to the abatement cost so that they have reclaimed not only the actual abatement cost, but their time and effort. Is that part of this ordinance?
Well, I guess it depends how we're going to have the situation abated. Right now, if we use, our internal mitigation crews, we have that same thing where we charge 50% extra. So I think it's going to be, depending on the case and the situation, who mitigates it. If we use our own mitigation crew, or we hire a different chipper mitigation crew. But currently, we do charge that 15% with our current crew for work.
Okay. Let's see.
Okay, excuse me, Marshall, did you just say you guys add 15% to the cost of your crew?
Yes, that's correct.
I thought it was 50.
15?
15?
Yes, I believe it's 15. I can confirm that, but that's what I understand. It's 15.
Some towns a lot more than that. Okay, so part of this process is also going to be, Don even mentioned, we can start seeing orange tree tags on trees that you've identified as obviously fire hazards. And my understanding was that's already started. Or is that part of the new?
Yeah, that's correct. That's something I implement. No, that's something I implemented about 6 months ago. We had several situations where there were trees dying in different areas of the district. And we get complaint emails and bad phone calls saying we're not doing our job because the tree's still there. So I said, okay, how can we tag these trees and hopefully give someone a message that this has been identified as a hazard, and hopefully they understand that maybe something's been mitigated. What people don't understand, that even though the tree's dead and we want it ripped down tomorrow, sometimes it takes a month or 2 for that to happen because the town has to hire contractors or the homeowners have to do things to get a contractor money, things like that. So basically, we implement this new orange tagging system where we tag any dead trees with an orange tag. We make contact with the town to determine if it's in the right of way that the town's responsible for, or if it's on private property, and then we make contact with the homeowner. But at least gives someone driving by an indication that hopefully something's being done now that there's an orange tag and that tree's been identified versus, like I said, multiple emails and phone calls saying, nothing's happening, we're not doing our job. So it's actually been a positive thing. We've seen several trees go down fairly quickly. It's been a great way to identify trees with the towns that need to be done. And I still see a few orange tags that are faded that haven't been taken down yet. So we continually revisit those sites and meet with the homeowners and hopefully get them to take care of the situation.
I think it's all a positive thing because I'm a huge advocate of enforcement. So do you need to get a tree permit to take down those orange tree tags or those trees that have been orange tagged, or can you just take them down?
That's something the town has to decide. I found that a lot of these that we have been tagged have been identified as in the town right away, so they obviously can deal with those situations. But when you take trees down on private property, it's always a good idea to confirm with the town if they need a permit or not.
Yeah, because actually about 10 years ago, some of the trees on the town property got flagged at my house. It said, remove them. I had them removed. And then I got a call from the town, your neighbors are complaining. And I said, I called the fire district and they said, no, take them down. It might be helpful to put the information on that tag. I mean, I know that would be difficult, but it wouldn't take that much more time. But to tell the homeowner, you can take this down, you don't need a permit, or you do need a permit for this, because I think there's going to be a lot of confusion.
Well, yeah, and again, that's something more that the town has to say over than the fire department. In the town of Woodside, we have a a program where we can go out and identify a dead tree, and if we identify it dead, they can report to the town and have it mitigated. And there's a process for that. There isn't that process in Portola Valley. So again, I think it's case by case. If anybody's taking a tree down, they should double check with the towns and make sure that they don't need a permit for that.
Is there any way I can get a copy of what Woodside does as a model? I mean, because you're telling me you find it convenient for what Woodside does, right? And maybe we could get the same kind of program implemented here if it's a, Nona, this is your area.
Yeah, this is the Defensible Space Program that the reimbursement for the town of Woodside has.
Oh, but I'm talking about whether we need a permit or not.
So in Portola Valley, if it's a significant tree, meaning it's of a sufficient size and it's a particular species, then you need a permit.
But if they orange tag it, if they put an orange tag on the tree and they've flagged it as it has to be removed, you still need.
I think the town would automatically approve that. I don't actually know. But
yeah, that would have to be confirmed.
That's something we should
I don't know
about.
How.
That's
so
something.
The permit goes to the town, and the town either handles it themselves, the staff handles it, or they ask conservation to handle it. So I don't know if we ever I don't remember ever seeing one that was tagged.
Huh. I just wonder if we could, if it's obviously if the fire district has flagged it, it's a fire danger. I wonder if we could streamline it somehow. I will put it on my list.
Yeah, and I'm trying to recall a time that maybe something like that had filtered up to my desk, and I don't recall one. But if we're getting guidance from the fire district to remove a tree or expedite the removal of a tree for fire danger, that happens pretty quickly. So that there really isn't an issue there. But if there's some kind of more, I'm using the word in a positive way because I think bureaucracy is a good thing, but if some more bureaucratic information about how that may all work, let me know, Jennifer, and I can get that for you.
So conservation, just to sort of chime in a little bit on this, sometimes homeowners are told by their insurance company that they have to remove a tree. Yeah. And it hasn't been flagged and it's a significant tree, but conservation approves that too, because we can't be in the position of recommending that the town disqualify someone for fire insurance. That would be a good idea.
I'm just wondering if it's the fire district, if there's some really speedy way we can do it and have them be able to say, you don't need a permit. This tree, you have authorization to immediately remove. And it's just one less step for the homeowner. But we, again, have to be very careful that that's the fire district using that and not.
And I don't think that those have ever come to conservation. So I think that gets decided before, without involving conservation.
Okay.
That would be my guess, but I don't know.
Huh. I'll look into it. I'm so sorry. I have so many questions. So before this presentation, I looked up what is fire code because I'm thinking I'm a homeowner. I know you're going to be enforcing fire code. What exactly do I have to do? Not what I'm supposed to do, like defensible space and ember resistant vents, but what do I have to do to prevent getting fined? And I went on the fire district's website and I found such wonderful handouts. There are just such wonderful informational handouts. And it'll say things like remove all dead and dying plants, remove vegetation found on undesirable plant list. And these are all great suggestions. But if I'm a homeowner and I ask, what do I have to do to not get fined? Where is that? And I did look at what PR 2492, and most people are not going to read that. But is there something we have for homeowners that says this is what you have to do?
Jennifer, you don't think everybody wants to read public resource code? It's just a delightful experience.
I did. And I did. So do we have a kind of a simple guide to fire code and what you have to do?
I mean, other than what we have on our website, defining what our defensible space requirements are, 100 feet from the structures, we have the 30-foot perimeter property line clearance, you know, no trees over your house and things like that. I don't know what else there is. Or what else you'd like to see maybe?
Well, I mean, this is plant separation. That's great. It's great. And I can't get the, oh, there it is. Plant separation. Is that fire code? I really don't know. MJ, do you know? Is there an easy to read guide?
Woodsidefire.org website does have a page on defensible space. I'm looking it up right now, and it does assets. I thought it had a section that was pretty, it listed all the codes.
Yeah, are you wanting to define a certain way, or?
No, I just want something that when, you know, we're having the wildfire preparedness fair, I literally want to help you educate residents. I want you to have 100% compliance, and we want to help you. So I just think, yes, Steve.
If I may add, I think that's where the assessments really come in. Like if we promote the assessments, because every single property is really different. And so walking with Marshall and his crew, you know, a few months ago, it's really boots on the ground, identifying things that are unique to your home.
Yeah.
That you know, it's not a one size fits all. And so I think that that's really valuable for people to invite and volunteer to have that assessment done of their house. I think that's the very first thing to do. I don't know, Marshall, what do you think?
And you know, when I do my you know, defensible space inspection and walk around the house, there's certain things that are code, but then there's also certain things that are somewhat maybe good ideas and common sense that aren't being followed that people don't really think about. So I bring up a lot of things that aren't in code, that aren't in definition, but it makes sense not to have certain things stored in certain areas, or maybe get rid of some garbage that you don't need, or the extra plastic pots that we've been saving for the, you know, for the tomatoes and things like that. So those aren't defined in code per se, unless, you know, things like the 0 to 5 foot clearance from the house are adopted, things like that. But so like, I think that reemphasizes like those individual defensible space inspectors are so unique and case by case that, you know, you really have to kind of almost, that's the best way to do it, because you can provide all the literature and the plant spacing and things like that, but you know, people should do it all to make their houses safer. But you know, what do they have to do and what do they want to do and what they should do are all different things, I think.
Okay, so that's good confirmation, because when I actually read PR 2492, it did seem like it's a bit of an art form.
Mm-hmm.
And so that must be really hard to enforce then, because you can't really abate something that's in the gray area. You really,
well, you can define it as a fire hazard if it in fact is, which would cover that.
All right, that's great. Okay, so I'm going to move on from, does anybody have any other questions about enforcement? It's strictly the new enforcement. No? Okay. So,
oh, Jennifer?
yes, ma'am.
I did find the page. Is there a, well, they have a page, it's called Vegetation Management, where they list all the codes. And,
yeah, that's on our website.
They're pretty good.
Okay. Can you send that to me?
Yeah, sure.
That's great. Maybe that's what we give away.
It is hard to find though.
Maybe we make that for the fair and we send that out, or that's a good thing to send out.
Yeah, maybe we should just print these off.
Well,
Page?
One thing I can comment on is we have a group in the district right now working on a new website. So hopefully in the next 6 months or so, we'll be rolling that out, if not sooner, which will hopefully make things a lot more fluid and easier to find on the website.
And I'm not complaining. I think your handouts are amazing. And I think you guys are doing a fantastic job. In my property, you found nothing wrong with you assessed my property. So I just want to put that out. I'm not criticizing.
So
okay. Just briefly, Dave, if you go to woodsidefire.org and you go on the prevention tab up at the top, and then go down that fire prevention page, and there's a bunch of documents. One of them is vegetation management requirements that lists all the code. Yeah, that's it. That's good. So sort of, well, there's good reasons for being on Zoom on a computer instead of at this table. Sorry. So kind of also talking about enforcement. There was a letter from Dawn to the board, and it was about ordinance 22-03 about Mid-Penn. And in the letter, and this is on the district website under news, you can see that they were talking about Mid-Penn wanting an exemption. And Don basically saying he didn't think that was appropriate. And they talked about it wasn't legal for a fire district to pass an ordinance requiring the owners of structures to complete defensive space actions on the land of another, as the park district suggests. Can you just tell us a little bit about that discussion with Mid-Penn and how that is progressing, and how has that been revised in the ordinance at all?
Yeah, I would love to comment on that. I wasn't involved in any of those discussions. I'm not going to comment for Dawn on that. It's obviously a situation they're working through. I think there's discussions going back and forth regarding that and trying to come up with a resolution. But that would be something I'd want Dawn to comment on.
Okay. Maybe next month. And then for, again, ordinance 22-2. So the second draft, so basically the second draft, there's a cover letter from Dawn that said, this is all under news for the fire district, that basically until our new fire maps are out, you're proposing to use the 2008 Moritz map in addition to the 2007 CAL FIRE map, and you're trying to kind of use both of them. And if I'm correct, basically if the Moritz map determined that it was the highest hazard zone, then you would assume that it was a very high fire zone. So I have a couple of questions about that. And I know that's going to be, I think that there's going to be another meeting in a week on that. Fritz map is fuzzy. I mean, in the sense that there's no, it's not a huge map. There's no line that says this street is this category and this street is another category. So when you reassign those fire zones, are you guys going to go out and maybe drive down the streets and say, okay, this must be the high fire danger, but this side of the street looks okay? Or are you just going to do something very general with it? Because I know that in his January 21st presentation, in the discussion about hazard modeling, there's a lot of statistical distributions you use. And I just wonder, does a homeowner have the right to appeal if they're actually in an open space, but they've been kind of put in a high fire zone because they're on a border? I mean, how would that work?
So I heard multiple questions there. I don't know which one I should answer. Maybe you could clarify.
I'm picking.
I don't even think we've really addressed it yet because we haven't received the data to confirm, what areas are going to be changed and how we'll address that and how we'll go out and like I said, walk it or view it. So that really hasn't been determined yet.
So you're going to get more data on the Moritz map?
Well, we also have the flame mapper information that's coming to us also.
But I mean, my understanding is that until you get the flame mapper, you're going to use, they've determined that we are able to use the 2008 Moritz map as a placeholder until our new updated maps are available. So we're going to start to use the Moritz map to determine what areas in Portola Valley are very high fire zone.
But isn't that already determined in that map? That's not going to change, right?
Yeah, but I mean, MJ is more of an expert on this than I am.
That map's already in place and already shows those high fire severity areas.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty general though.
Well, but that's not going to change. That map's not going to change if we use that in the meantime.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Right.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I'm clear on what. I know it's in gray, like you said, but that's all we have available. And so until we have something better, Dawn decided to, implement that and utilize that. Obviously, we're waiting for the state. They come out with the SRA mapping. They say they're going to come out with the LRA mapping, but, they've been talking about that forever. There's no, timeline on that. We hope to see it sooner than later, but we don't really know.
So when we start using that Moritz map and the 2007 map, let's say next month, there are going to be homes that have been reassigned into a very high fire zone. Is there going to be a list of addresses or streets? Because you can't look at the 2007 map and tell what street is a high fire zone either. But I mean, are the residents going to be notified that they are now in a very high fire zone in some way? A letter maybe? Or?
That's other than, getting the information first, that's something we haven't determined or discussed how we're going to relay that information. Obviously, it'll be public information for the mapping, but I don't know if Dawn wants to send out a specific letter saying that now that their parcel's in a different area.
Okay. And let's say my house is all of a sudden in a very high fire zone. What does that mean to me? Besides that I have to have a defensible space inspection when I sell my house or something. Does it affect me in any way? I mean.
Well, currently any house that's sold has to have a defensible space, any parcel anywhere, high fire or not. To make sure I understand the question, if now you're determined to be in a high fire severity zone, how will that affect you?
Yeah. How would it? Yeah, I mean, do I have?
Well, it shouldn't affect you any different than it does now because we already live in the urban wildland interface. So whether you're in a low, medium, high severity, or severe, you should be treating your property the same way across the board. You should be maintaining our requirements for defensible space, home hardening, and all those different requirements and codes to make sure your house is as safe as it could be, and hopefully, survive a fire if it ever happens. But it shouldn't really change things whether you're in different zones. It should be across the board that standard should be maintained on all houses.
So I did read SB 62, that Senate bill that I think that it's compelling the fire district to label these communities. And so is this just kind of more of a government, you're just putting people in categories, but there's not going to be any difference at all? Building codes don't change because we've already have stringent building codes. I can still remodel my house and use the same materials.
Yeah, correct. Because the building is all funding under the Chapter 7A for WUI, and they don't differentiate right now if it's high severity or low. I believe in the future there's going to be future state requirements for high severity with fire resistant construction and things like that. But one thing what we're seeing is we have Chapter A and we have requirements, but then they're able to put hardy board on the house and put wood in on top of it. So they're protecting the structure itself, but they're still now providing a flammable material on their house that could affect the neighbors or neighborhood.
Okay, thank you so much for answering all these questions. Does anyone else have any questions about this? Okay. And one last thing, any news on prescribed burns? If we might be doing any kind of prescribed burns anytime soon in our area?
I have not heard of any. No, not so far in our district.
Thank you so much. I'm going to open it up to the public. Does anyone else have any questions? And I'm looking. I see no one with any questions. Thank you so much, Marshall. I hope you will come back next month and all my questions haven't scared you off.
All right, thank you all.
Thanks, Marshall.
If there's any follow-up or things that need to be clarified, please email like we discussed, and I can get further clarification from Don on anything that may not be answered correctly.
You've been terrific, and I ask everybody that comes before this committee these kind of questions. It's not just you. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Well, have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Marshall.
Bye, Marshall.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
So,
Jeremy, good to see you in the future as well.
Thanks, man. You're going to see me before I split. I'll come find you.
Okay. All right. Take care.
Bye.
So we're going to move on to our next item. Wildfire Preparedness Fair. Okay, I'm going to start with an update because I've got a lot of details that I just want to tell you. And I'm just going to run through them, and then I'm going to turn it over to Dee to talk about what she's doing, and then I'll turn it over to MJ to talk about the lecture series. Okay. And I was just going to kind of go through all of this and then have everyone ask questions at the end, and that way I think it'll be the most effective way to do it. So first, I want to thank Carrie because once again, she's been on top of all the organization and she returns my emails in like 10 minutes. So she's just been fantastic. Jeremy, I want to thank you for arranging to have the tables folded and put away at the end of the event for us. And it may not sound like much, but that was the biggest worry I had because it's so hard to find volunteers to do that. So that was a huge help.
I needed to get my workout in, so thank you for the opportunity to.
You'll be gone. I do not believe that you are doing that.
I'm showing up. I'm going to show up incognito, but I'm going to be at that fair come hell or high water. So I know how much work you put into it.
So when probably next month, the question's going to come up, do we do this every year? And I want you to be thinking about it because I'm kind of thinking at this point, maybe every 2 or 3 years, because I'm wondering, will we have something new to offer next year? And I'm flexible here. If everyone wants to do it every year, if the town council asks us to do it every year, I'm fine. But I question the value of doing this every year if it's the same vendors and exhibits. And so I'm open here. So I just want to give you status. So for the exhibits, the majority of vendors are returning. So I think we're up to like 23 exhibits. Conservation's going to, of course, attend this year. The EPC will be there and they're bringing their antenna trailer this year. And then sustainability is also coming. And they're gonna, I'm hoping they do some kind of Earth Day twist. Of course, WPB Ready is going to be there, and as part of that, CERT's going to bring their trailer. And then we will have a fire extinguisher demo this year in the parking lot. Dee is going to talk about the do-it-yourself exhibit. MJ is going to discuss the new lecture series. The insurance table. So our wonderful insurance guy that was there last year can't make it, but I'm going to step on MJ's exciting news. The California Department of Insurance is coming. So they will be at the fair answering questions for 3 hours of the fair. So my inclination now is to say we don't need an insurance guy because we have CDI. Our table, the Wildfire Preparedness Committee's table, we're going to have a small Mac laptop showing an ember storm. We're going to be stressing ember storm, defending against an ember storm. We're going to have a go bag that is not just for evacuation, but for ember defense. We're also going to have a binder with the documents and the scanner codes. It has just about every document you can think of. There may be a poster, and then Dudley Carlson is going to help man that table because the rest of you will be busy. One is going to be at probably the insurance area with CDI. And the center table is going to have information again. I'm going to add all of these wonderful handouts from the fire district, and I'm going to put them in frames so that with scanner codes so people can get that information. I'm going to have a final map for you in March. I'm going to try to do an ambassador program where we have some volunteers handing out the maps and informational information at the area where you enter. And this year, the outside area is going to be emergency preparedness fire district. So we're moving their exhibits outside because I think they're going to need more room. I'm working on the name tags and the hats. And then I'm working on a handout in March, and I've already talked about it with the town attorney, that we may do something, and I've got to pass this on to Dee and MJ about recommending this is the order you do things. Like you do your defensible space, and you do your ember resistant vents, and you clear your decks, and you make all these things, and then you worry about fire retardants. And that may not sound like a big deal, but I get so many questions, and people are looking at things before they've done the basics. And I think there is a way for us to do that document as a committee, and also say we're not experts. We have no liability. This is our best guess. So it's a delicate document, but I think it's one that would be very helpful. And also they could have in their hand as they go and they talk to these contractors, because I'd like them armed with a lot of information. Also, you saw, so for publicity, you saw the save the date text that was approved by Cara. That is going out to the school district PTO email, going out in some form in the Ranch newsletter. I have tried to contact every block captain, and I'm going to start making phone calls. I've reached half of them. So about half the streets, hopefully in Portola Valley, have had that save the date email come through from someone they know. As I contact these block captains, I'm trying to make a pitch for Firewise. I'm trying to make a pitch for kind of establishing them as our little mini experts in their streets. So I'm working on that. Starting in March, I'm going to be sending out a weekly blast highlighting a portion of the fair every week. And I don't know, MJ, maybe that's just something we work on together instead of a tip. I don't know. I'm creating a mailer that's going out in April 1st. It's going to be a postcard. The town, Carrie had leftover paper, so we don't even have to buy the paper. I'm driving it down to Belmont so that we can save a ton of money. We have 2 banners ordered, one for Ford Field, one in front of the town. We have a free digital sign that's going to go out on Alpine near Rosati's the week before the event. I'm hoping that WPB Ready will buy an article, buy an ad in the Almanac again this year. I'm going to try to get an article in the Almanac a little closer in. For budgets, we're on a shoestring. I really want to make this cost effective. We've got the mailing cost, the printer cost, maybe a poster or 2. We're going to buy a couple of flats of water for the vendors, and then whatever cost of tearing down and setting up the tables. I'm making cookies, so we don't have to buy any cookies. So that's my update. Dee, do you want to tell?
Sure. So I came up with the idea of, for demonstration purposes, I'm gonna build a small scale model home to show all of the different home hardening aspects. So it'll have fiber cement siding, so people can actually see what that looks like. It'll have a Class A roof and gutters with gutter guards. I'll show the different vents and what's the difference between an open and closed soffit. So it'll be approximately the same size as like a playhouse, but so that people can actually come up and walk up to it and see it. And we'll have signs that will be showing what each one of these features are. So it kind of really will hit it home, right? Just people's visually really helps people. And then we've gotten, thank you, Jennifer, for reaching out to our vendors. So some folks have, they're going to donate the vents. And so we could actually have the actual size, you know, so like the 2-inch vents to go up the soffit versus the foundation vent. And people can actually, you know, see how that is really installed. So
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, good. I ran it by MJ in our home hardening committee, and I got the thumbs up from her too. So
and you're doing all that in our shoestring budget, huh?
Yeah, well,
I heard donate in there a number of times.
Yeah, and I also don't mind, like I'm donating the labor, and have been working with a few different groups that might help me do that. If I could pull it together, it would be cool to have maybe like a community build day, but I don't have that. I don't have that organized yet.
And there is money. Jeremy, the town budget does have some money for her.
Yeah, but it's a small scale, so it's not a tremendous amount of money, and I don't mind. We have a lot of the things already. So.
Can you talk about the table with the contractors?
Well, I don't know. So why don't you you know more about?
Well, I know Richard said he would join from PB Hardware, said he would once again volunteer. And then you said you had some other contractors that you might know, and he had some contractors he might know. So the idea is to have the table with contractors so people can ask questions. I think that's important because last year it was quite busy.
Okay.
If you're short something and need it, let me know because I may have contacts you don't.
Okay, perfect.
I like scare people.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So right on, good. Yeah, I haven't lined up people yet, so thank you for that reminder. And Jay and I were talking about just like the do-it-yourself panel, right? So actually, why don't we just segue into what she's,
Yeah, so for the speaker series, it'll be here. It'll be hybrid and recorded on Zoom, assuming I know how to work everything. The idea is at 10 o'clock, we'd have this woman from CDI, which is the California Department of Insurance. And what I asked her to do is by mid-April, all the insurance companies are supposed to be have submitted their new rate programs and how they're going to do the discounts and things like that. So I'm hoping that she will give us an update on where things are. So we, we'll be one of the first to know how this new regulation is going to affect our homeowners. So that would be like 10 o'clock. And what I'm thinking right now, or what I'm telling people, is a half-hour presentation and 15 minutes for Q&A, and then we have like a half-hour block before the next session. So then at 11:30, we would have our DIY panel. I had one homeowner that I identified to talk about what he's done at his home in Woodside. But I still need to reconfirm with him. And I was hoping to maybe ask Rob Young, because I know he's done a lot of work on his house. And then we also talked about maybe having a contractor on that panel. But then Dee and I thought that it would probably be better to just have homeowners, right?
I don't like the contractor idea.
Yeah.
You're gonna fuel jealousy and resentment.
On the do-it-yourself town, you're not going to have a contractor?
Well, that's what Dee and I talked about on Monday, that we think maybe it's I can't remember why we decided.
Well, we were also talking during that time frame, maybe Richard would want to be here versus outside.
He definitely should be on the panel. His house in the ranch is a model wildfire home. I mean, it's got the hardy boards, it's got the concrete stairs. And he's not a current contract, right? So everybody knows him.
Right. Well, so maybe he is appropriate. Let me talk to him.
That sounds appropriate.
Yeah, and then the other thing Dee and I talked about was if I didn't have enough people for the panel, that she could do a little photos of what she's building. Right?
Yeah, I don't mind also. I mean, the thing is about the model is I will have signage out there. And so if I'm in here for 30 minutes helping MJ with something, it's pretty self-explanatory. People are going to be able to walk up to it and see what they want to, what they can see. So
you can have a sign that says you're here.
Yeah, you have that too, right?
So anyways, I'm still, kind of flexible or open on the DIY panel thing because I haven't worked it all out yet. So at 1 o'clock, then the third and final speaker is, I talked about having ER incident discussion. So when I talked to the guy at San Mateo County DEM, what used to be, what is that? Department of Emergency Management, used to be OES or something. Anyway, so he and Don gave a presentation about what happens in an evacuation for wildfire. And because they gave this presentation to the school district in November, but only 6 people showed up. So Don's supposed to give me his slides, and then we'll make sure that it covers what we want, right, for the fair. And then, so Don and Brian Kelly will do the presentation, and then they would have, Brian's going to get the sheriff to be present just in case there's questions. We're going to ask someone from EPC to be there. And I can't tell if Jeremy's still there, but get someone from the town.
Yes, he is.
Oh, he is. Okay. and I heard, Jeremy, actually that you guys discussed this. So maybe you've already committed to sending someone for this 1 o'clock panel.
I'll have anybody you need. I think I need a little more specifics, but happy to help in any way. But we've got some good people, I think, from the town that can be helpful. So
yeah, thanks, Jeremy.
You want someone from the town to be here that can run this equipment if something, isn't right, because I worry about starting these lectures right after each other.
Well, no, there's like a half hour in between.
So, I mean, would we just record the whole? I mean, I'm not worried if we just hit start and it records for 4 hours, but what I worry about is the stopping and the starting. So
that's a good thing to point out. So I guess, Jeremy, I'll need to find out who I can contact to make sure I know how to do everything.
Sure. Shoot me an email tomorrow. It may be Melissa or Carrie, one of the two, but we'll hook you up.
Okay, and it could be I'll need 3 different Zoom meetings or something.
I already checked with Carrie and Melissa, and that's not a problem.
Yeah.
And I can show you the notes.
Yes.
But what I worry about is that if it's not working, it would be great to have somebody available that knows the system better. I mean, we just got it started today, but it just would be a shame not to get a recruiter.
IT backup.
Yeah, IT backup. I would just like IT backup. And you know, you can, I can get you to start next month. So you know the process, but I just worry, what if it doesn't work like that?
Yeah, sure. Or I could just come in here on my own.
But you got to have a Zoom. You got to have a. I mean, I came in here last week to try.
Well, who sets up the Zoom?
Oh, Melissa, maybe she could set up a trial of 3 right after each other to see if that works.
Yeah, what that's like. All right, so that's a good point. So Jeremy, I'll just shoot you an email and figure out who I work with.
Jennifer, you had made a comment earlier about whether or not the committee, whether or not there should be an annual fair. And I wanted to offer something. Oh, my cat did not like moving there. Sorry if you heard that. I wanted to offer something unsolicited. You know, maybe there's an opportunity to do an annual virtual fair where we generate interest in issues and offer programming online in some fashion. I haven't obviously thought this out much beyond that, so there's specifics involved there that may make that unrealistic, but you know, I almost seen it akin to signing up for a seminar and participating remotely. So maybe it's speakers or you know, some kind of other virtual experience. But I just wanted to put that out there as part of your discussions. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion.
I think that's a great idea. I was thinking as the deputy fire marshal was talking, how great it would be to have a video of what a defensible space inspection really looks like on the ground, and just have some kind of a short video of that. Something like that would be really useful in an online fair.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so as far as deciding the frequency of these things, do you want to talk about that tonight, or do you want to talk about it after the fair?
Well, we in some ways need we need to decide at the April meeting, which is right after the fair, because in order to do the fair the next year, you have to book it a year in advance. So we can't wait till June to decide if we're going to do a fair in 2024. So
that makes sense to see what the turnout is.
Yeah,
and let's just make sure that's a discussion item in that April meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to have a huge turnout, but that doesn't mean we should do the fair every year, because
it's a lot of work.
Well, if we don't have anything new to offer. Okay, do you want to just open up for discussions about anything else about what we talked about? So Dee, make sure you email Brangard and Ember Defense about those events, because it may take them 2 or 3 weeks to get to. And you're following up with Richard, right? On the hardware store issue.
No, I have a couple events from last year that somebody gave me, or you have some.
Okay. No other questions about the fair from anyone on the panel? On the members? Okay, anyone have questions from attendees? David is our only attendee, so he has no question. Okay. Next, Firewise, the discussion about the WPC working on with WPV Ready. So last meeting, the subject came up about the WPV Ready meetings that they were discussing fire-wise. And the subject came up, how many of us could attend a meeting that was sponsored by WPV Ready? And Chip said that the Woodside Town lawyer said, no problem because it's a district meeting. There's no Brown Act issue. And you asked me to check with Cara, which I did. Not true. Absolutely, it's a Brown Act violation.
Oh, really?
In so many ways. So especially because we will be discussing funding for programs and we are a town committee, anytime we get together to discuss an issue that's related to wildfire preparedness, it is a meeting, and we would be essentially holding a meeting that was not formally announced with an agenda. So, go ahead.
That's it.
Well,
3?
yeah, but you know, she would, and we both agree, Brown Act buddies is the best way to do it, because if, let's say, the 3 of us attend and then one of us sends an email to Wanda or D, boom, Brown Act violation. So the policy should be that no more than 2 of us should attend a meeting where we're discussing something that's related to wildfire preparedness. That was a good clarification. And just a note, Chip Swan is holding now monthly Firewise meetings, Zoom meetings, every second Thursday starting at 4:30 and every last Monday starting at 7. Questions from members? Questions from the public? Okay, a quick update on the town council budget proposal. Is I'm sure you saw in the town packet, and I also forwarded it to you. We presented our budget proposals. Mayor Elf was very complimentary of the report and the ideas. And I just want to say I've heard from so many staff members how impressed they are with this committee. And you're all doing fantastic work. So and the town council was very interested in our suggestions, and they were actually very interested to know that we're going to produce that report in summer with the that discusses wildfire mitigation programs and possibly a suggestion or a proposal from us. And they were very, because Nona, I know you had mentioned in the past, and are you sure we want to do a report, and will anyone receive it well? And yes, they were very interested in it. So we should feel good about that. Any questions? Oh, and Dee and I did talk about the shelter in place. We did agree on that description. And it was a very interesting thing. I got an email from Chair Fowl, and he said, actually the correct term is TRAs, temporary. I lost the email. Temporary, Jeremy, help me. What are TRAs? Temporary. He's gone. Anyways, oh yeah, what are
I'm trying to I'm turning a little bit into a pumpkin here, but I think it's temporary refuge areas, I think is what it is.
I thought it was temporary refuge or something.
Yeah, refuge, that's what I said.
Okay, yeah. And so there is a multi-district county effort trying to define that whole issue during evacuation of using TRAs. And so it is being addressed. And it's just something, I created an open items list now for both the town manager and for the fire district. And it's just something I'm gonna ask every time the fire district comes back. What's going on with that research? Okay. So, and it was, and our ideas generated a lot of really good discussion from the town council. Questions from the committee?
So when did you present this?
Oh, I'm sorry, temporary refuge areas. At the last town council meeting, so that was February. Gosh, I don't know. I want to say it was.
When was the meeting?
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
on January 25th.
Okay, any questions from the public on that? There's one more thing. So that budget proposal is not in our agenda packet. I intended, I sent it to Melissa, it didn't get put in, but it was part of the town council packet.
Yeah, but I mean, if you want it in our agenda packet, you can go back and amend the agenda packet. She told me that one. I mean, because otherwise
it matters. It appeared by the town council. It's not like it's
well, at least then it would be in our committee to review. So when you do that, I just thought it was such a good document. It might be nice if we had it on our committee page.
We're gonna get out of here on time. Oh. Okay. All right, I don't see any hands up. Okay. Subcommittee and liaison updates. Conservation.
So you've already mentioned that conservation will have a table at the fair, and there are 5 of us who are going to staff that. So nice. Presumably we can help out with some other things as well. And I just wanted to report back that the committee conservation agreed to do the tip of the month via email in addition to posting it on PV4, and that's something that this committee suggested. Conservation was really interested in the 2203 fire ordinance, partly because there are some departures from the previous ordinance. And so we had tried to schedule some time with Don to go over some of our concerns, and that didn't work out. So he had asked that individuals submit comments to him directly. And so a number of people on the committee and in the public are doing that. And I guess I think that's relevant to sort of the discussion tonight, mainly because what they enforce is what's going to be in that ordinance, right? So how you think about enforcement and what the ordinances are that they have to follow will depend on that. So I thought I'd just mention a couple of the things that have come up. One is that the previous ordinance had an exception for riparian corridors and creek banks, and the new one doesn't mention either of those things. I'm sorry?
I thought it did. I'm sure you're right. I thought it is.
Another thing that we had hoped to see was a little bit more clarification about unirrigated vegetation, because the description sounded a little bit like native vegetation that could be, useful for habitat. A third item was things like the removal of dead trees. Could there be exceptions for snags that are above a certain diameter and have only major limbs remaining and that sort of thing? So there are a few things that I think conservation would like to see included in that. And so we'll see what happens with that.
Nice.
But I just wanted to mention that since I tend to think about what the rules are, not how you enforce them.
No, it's good.
Your committee sending some kind of a letter, a group letter, or
no, because Don wasn't able to meet with us, and so each of us individually we were told individually to just express thoughts to Don directly, and then he can take them, as I understand it, to the board.
Otherwise, it's a Brown Act violation.
Pardon?
You mean because of Brown Act?
Yeah, so we couldn't form a subcommittee, and we thought it would be best to talk to Don directly, but he couldn't schedule a time with us. So we couldn't really authorize a subcommittee, so we just decided to do it that way. And there were members of the public who were there too. So it seemed like a good thing for everyone to just sit down and really read it. It's long and complicated.
Where is it? I've never even heard of it
until
tonight.
Fire district news.
Yeah. So
Fire district news.
yeah. Anyway, and I'm sure that there are people who sort of were able to digest it maybe better than the rest of us, but there were a few things that stood out. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that because I think it is worth thinking about what the
So you're talking 2202.
2203.
Oh, 2203. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
2202 is the WUI one.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
Nona, if this is helpful, I'm planning to attend their meeting on Tuesday night, the board meeting for Woodside Fire Protection District. And I want to thank you for sending over the comments that you had on this. And I'm happy, certainly if anybody's going, they're free to represent their own thoughts. But if anybody wants to share some of the things that they'd like heard, if they can't attend, you feel free to send to me. The town, in conjunction with the town of Woodside, the Portola Valley School District, Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District, and County Parks sent a joint letter to the district over the weekend that detailed questions related to both ordinances. And certainly what you sent over, Nona, had some shared commonality with some of the concerns that our collective group put together as well. And just for this committee, I didn't want Marshall to feel like I was doing anything other than sharing information. I chose to do it a little later so he didn't feel like he was under attack. But there were sort of two overarching concerns that we had with the vegetation and fuel reduction ordinance. One was transparency. We just wanted to make sure the district was sharing more information with more people so people knew what was happening. So they didn't get a letter in a couple months with new responsibilities or requirements that they weren't prepared to do financially or otherwise. And secondly, one, trying to understand more what the relationship is between some of the new requirements and a lot of the strategic work that all these agencies are doing right now. Is there a relationship between the two of them? I think particularly around the fuel break, and I don't mean this in any way other than informative. The current ordinance has a provision that if you're an acre or more, you have to put 100-foot fuel break around your property. Well, 1 acre is 208 feet by 208 feet. That's the entire property. That's one of the points that I think you made in your letter, Nona. That's a lot of work. And my comments aren't intended to say that work shouldn't happen, but it needs to be as transparent a process as possible for people to participate and understand what may be asked of them. And, Jennifer, I think you were making some astute comments earlier just about how the world of fire code is not particularly transparent. That's not the fault of Woodside Fire. The fire code's a proprietary thing. You have to buy it. So, they don't normally just put it online. I don't think you're allowed to. And, what we've understood through the vegetation management work in this ordinance that the district is attempting is to codify some things they've been doing in practice for some time, but there's a lot of new in there too. So, that was really the thrust of our collective commentary around that. And I'm happy to share the letter with anybody that wants to see what we said, but it's part of the record. You can get it from Woodside Fire too. So I'm going to go just to listen and offer any constructive feedback I can.
That's great to know. I think the members of Conservation Committee who submitted comments would probably love to see that, what the town and Mid-Penn and Parks put together. And then the last thing, well, is there anything more on that?
Well, but just about so the 2202 is about the Moritz map mainly, and then 2203 is reducing the exemptions. It's
2203 is oh my goodness, Kitty, sorry, is around a variety of vegetation and fuel reduction opportunities on both improved and unimproved lands. And there, there's a wide variety of them. There's a lot of different components to it. The what Mid-Penn we all signed the letter, so we all shared the same concern, was how would an exception process work as it's currently drafted? It was not initially drafted. MidPen provided that feedback in a November meeting. There was an earlier iteration of this ordinance. I think that we just need some clarity there to understand if the way that the exception process that's been drafted is written, it still feels a bit subjective, and puts a lot of onus on the fire marshal to make some decisions that might be, again, less transparent than I think everybody wants. And I know that's not Don's goal, is to be not transparent or anything like that. That's not what I'm talking about. But so that's how I understand it, Jennifer.
Well, my biggest question is, I don't even know why we care about fire maps if when you are put in a different fire zone, it doesn't make any difference.
Well,
except for getting grant money or something. But
there are some outstanding questions there. One thing that we asked in our joint letter was, has the district done an analysis of state law, code, CAL FIRE regulations to state what any impacts might be if such a map is adopted by the district? Is there a requirement that the town do anything? Right now, we don't believe so, but it's not been, I think, fully sussed out. And I will say this, just because I've got the floor, the Flame Mappers product's coming pretty quickly. We've seen preliminary data was presented at their board meeting in January. The Moritz map is a vegetation map, and its intent was it wasn't intended to replace the CAL FIRE map or replace what a CAL FIRE map can do. They have different inputs. They have different results. When I look at the Moritz map, the issues, and I'm being very general here, you can mitigate a problem theoretically from very high to nothing, because it's vegetation primarily, right? I would think particularly in areas that are flatter and the like. No one wants to see that. That's a denuding of vegetation. That's not what I'm saying, but you can do that. Whereas I don't understand the CAL FIRE map to be the same. There's different inputs, so you couldn't mitigate your problem from very high to nothing. And we want to make sure that we understand that the district is saying that there is an equivalency between the Moritz map and CAL FIRE map, and I'm not sure that's the town's position on this matter. So I hope that's helpful, but that's where we've been on this. And obviously we're trying to get a housing element done and a few other things, and the input from the district is critical in the development of policy. And I think there's a direct relationship between what map you're using and what that looks like. So I think I want to
echo what Jeremy said, because I think, although if I hear about the Moritz map one more time, I'm going to shoot somebody, but it's a map of 15-year-old vegetation, and so much has changed, and the world has changed, and the risk with the building structures changes, like the Stanford wedge, which people keep whining about. So much has been cleared, and if you put houses there, it's all different. So I don't find that very useful, and until the fire district has better maps, I guess that's what they want to go with. But the Flame Mapper maps are completely different than Moritz maps. So, from my point of view, we need to look at where are we today, what the risks are today, and in fairness, what the trade-offs are today. Because if we clear-cut everything, we'll have no wildlife. Birds live in trees. I wish we could have more snags in our property, but certain members of the family are pretty militant about chopping everything down that could burn. So we don't have woodpeckers nesting in the trees. So I do think there's kind of a where do we want to live kind of thing too. So that'd be my only perspective. And arguing about all the maps, I think is just, I don't know, it seems sideways to me. Thank you.
Jennifer, if this is helpful through the chair, one of the things that in the conversations that I've had with Don and the district is clarifying what the goal is.
Yeah.
And this might be a little narrow band way of looking at it, but it was useful for me just to frame my thinking. Is the goal in all of these different ordinances to reduce risk to a certain point? It's certainly not to eliminate risk, because that's not possible. Is it to ensure that fire crews can get on a site at a particular time in a particular way? There might be different ways to get to those solutions or answers if the problem is identified in the clearest possible way. And so that was some of what we were suggesting in our letter, and as I said, in other conversations. But I think that's an important piece of this, that, especially when we're looking at it through the lens of things like CEQA, and looking at it through the lens of environmental law and what we need to do there and what we don't have to do there, and et cetera. So it's a big, chunky, complicated thing. And I mean, in the end, the district should be commended for working on this, because it's vitally important to our community. We just, I'm going to hammer this one a bit. We just got to open it up more for more participation, so people know what's coming. We already know that many people in town do not want to do vegetation management. They're not doing it. Is this going to help? That seems like a great public conversation to have. Thank you.
Yeah, if I could just add that I totally agree with that. One of the concerns should be the safety of emergency responders. And so having extra clearance along roadways and not having cars parked on streets and all that kind of stuff is really important. And it was good to see that in that ordinance about the fuel that should be reduced along roadways.
I will look at the other ordinance. I'm a huge enforcement advocate, but I just worry with the ordinance where you're taking the Moritz map and you're adding to it. Is that map going to give us an accurate, hazard assessment? And would it be wiser to wait for flame mappers that's more accurate and it's current and it's more detailed? I just have questions also how residents are going to be notified. Or are you going to go to sell your house and all of a sudden you learn that it's a very high fire zone? Or what if the state decides? I've read some things that they think that possibly fire zones might indicate in the future where you're allowed to build. I mean, could this in 5 years change where the state decides to say, well, you can't do additions if you're in a very high fire zone, and we've assigned fire zones. I'm all for safety. I'm for safety. I just have a lot of questions. Okay. Thank you, Nona. We are at 8:40. I think we should, for home hardening, maybe we should discuss the decks next. Yeah, sure. Yeah. So does home hardening and vegetation have anything? Pretty much covered, right? Finance and insurance, we don't have anything, right?
Not till up there.
Okay, so staff updates. Jeremy, do you have anything?
Only that, with my departure, I've asked the assistant town manager, Corey Stalker, to start attending in my stead. I didn't ask her to come tonight, as we had a very late council meeting last night, but she will be coming starting the March 23rd meeting. Corey is very familiar with emergency preparedness related issues, and she's eager to learn more about wildfire preparedness issues and support the committee. So you'll start seeing her, but that's really all I had. So thank you.
And I have many meetings scheduled with Jeremy before he leaves, so I will be wrapping this all.
2 a day, I've heard.
One thing for your calendar.
She's not joking. She's put like, I want to say there's 6 or something like that on my calendar in the next month. It's impressive how quickly you put them on there.
He always cancels. So I have six meetings with him. Quorum check for next month. We're all here, right?
Yes. Yes.
The July meeting, because we changed the date because of Jeremy, and he's not going to be there in July.
I'd say ask the council to fire me, but I've taken care of that, I suppose. So sorry. The gallows humor.
But I will not
what
be
a short timer.
I will not be here in July. I'll be in Alaska. So either we will skip the July meeting, or if in May it looks like we really feel we need to meet in July, we'll pick another date, but don't hold that July meeting date open because I won't be here. I mean, you can have a meeting without me. No. Okay. Okay. Then I'm sorry, we didn't ask for public comment the last time. Is there any public comment before we adjourn the meeting? I think Dave left us.
No public.
Motion to adjourn. Second. Hands. Great. Adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Bye.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
Jeremy. I'll talk to you soon.
See you later.
Okay, so I'm going to close this up. Close this.